technically, it's going to be in the next 3 hours and 25 minutes. It's going to be New Year's Eve. This show is called The Eve Before New Year's Eve because very serious topic. Very serious topic. Yes, in the previous segment we talked about the Jets and everything else like that. Now we get to talk about what happens with what's associated with New Year's and New Year's Eve. And that's, people drinking and celebrating and bringing in the new year. But along with that are, crashes, fatalities, everything else. I mean, did you know 41% of car accidents, fatalities occur on New Year's Eve? I'm going to bring on Karen Mertes. She's going to tell her story of being a drunk driving victim herself and the creator of Plaintiff 101. Karen, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Ted. Thank you for having me on your show this evening.
Thank you so much for being so flexible with coming on the show live. I mean, I know you speak everywhere. I gone to the Plaintiff 101 WordPress.com site, and you are all over the place. And it just really moved me when I read your story with, with the various PR firms I work with. And when I heard your story, I wanted you to come on and talk with our listeners, share your story, and then we'll take it from there. I mentioned that it's New Year's Eve in a few hours. We talked about holiday travel last week on our podcast. Combining the extra travel and increase in alcohol consumption, it's a recipe for more car accidents. I'm going to decrease and I'm allowing you to increase because I want you to share your story and also tell us about Plaintiff 101.
I'm happy to do that, Ted. Thank you. Well, as you asked, the story is that on February 7th of 2007, that was the day that forever changed my life. I was a lieutenant colonel serving in our United States Air Force, and I was driving the speed limit on the interstate when I was struck at approximately 7:20 p.m. by a drunk driver that was traveling literally over 100 miles per hour. And this was just a random Wednesday in February, and 7:20 p.m. is not late in the evening by any stretch. So it's a warning to us all that they're literally out there really 24/7. And this particular young man had a blood alcohol level of 0.221, which is nearly 3 times the legal limit. And both of our cars were totaled. My axle snapped in half and was pushed into my transmission, causing my brakes and steering to fail. And so my car's undercarriage dragged, creating all these sparks. And I slid a distance of about 3 football field lengths. And then there was the smell of burning rubber. It was absolutely horrifying because I had a full gas tank and I worried that it would catch fire. And I sustained a traumatic brain injury at the scene of the crash because the impact upon my head and brain were multiple G-forces. My brain literally cracked and bled inside my skull. And I made a futile attempt to regain control of my vehicle as my car slid sideways down the interstate with all these other cars in the remaining lanes traveling by me at highway speeds and veering around me to avoid hitting me. And it was during this time, as my life hung in the balance, that I made a bargain and a promise that if I were fortunate enough to survive, I'd spend the rest of my life helping other people. And from that, I started a nonprofit called Fulfill Your Destiny, and I raised money for it in a number of different ways. And you alluded to, a lot of professional speaking, and I've authored a book called Plaintiff 101, the black book of inside information your lawyer will want you to know. And I did that. It's a groundbreaking work because it's written from the combined efforts of an attorney and me as the plaintiff, and it gives much of the information from inside our personal injury lawsuit and, from an attorney standpoint, but then from me, who was successful in my litigation. And it provides 50 takeaways and checklists, some of which can be implemented immediately to save everybody time, money, and energy. And it's full of real-world applications. so it's very usable and easy to read, and you never see the information in law school. The attorney I partnered with learned it over a very successful career, and having been part of multi-million-dollar settlements and verdicts. And so he imparts that wisdom throughout the book. And so we say it's a must-read for every driver, because on the front end, we educate everybody about insurance and how much to have, what types, and why. And it has to do with UIM coverage, uninsured motorist coverage. So you can, create a pool of money that's there in case you're injured or you should, injure someone else. And so, because you need, a much larger pool to be available than just the legal state minimums across the country. And so we educate people on that, and then we walk them through from A to Z the entire litigation process. And so it's also very useful for plaintiffs' attorneys because it can save them several hours with each client and using it as a teaching tool for them. And then associates can become, the term is called rainmakers, in using our book, Plaintiff 101, to bring in new clients and cases. And defense attorneys will want to read it too because they can use the information in Plaintiff 101 to leading to quicker settlements. And then it's really great to position it with all the referral partners, doctors, chiropractors, massage therapists, acupuncturists, all the different networking groups so many of us are part of. You pre-position the book with anybody that may ever get the question, I've been in an accident, what do I do now? And it's available on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle versions. And like you said, there's a website, and that's plaintiff101.wordpress.com. And it's also available through my website, fulfillyourdestiny.org. There's a author tab, and underneath that there's 4 books, and Plaintiff 101 is one of those. And then it has an extensive blog there about it.
Karen, I have a couple of questions. I know
Great.
you might be short for time. I want to be cognizant of it. So do we have about 10 minutes or so? Because I just have some questions in regard to the New Year's Eve experience and being out there as a motorist. Do you have a couple of extra minutes, or are you kind of tight for time? Okay.
No, I sure do.
So thank you so much. So first question is, why does New Year's Eve contribute to more careless driving? I mean, we know about the level of alcohol, but give us your perspective on it.
Well, I think that alcohol is part of so many of the celebrations that go on New Year's Eve, as well as other times, throughout the year. But New Year's Eve is definitely one of the big ones. And so I think what leads to drinking and driving is that people have to have a plan if they know they're going to drink that evening. They have to have the plan before they go out, whether that be a designated driver, a taxi, staying over at a friend's, or the venue that they're going, or Uber, or, all these various other methods. As long as they have the plan in place prior to drinking, it should work. But I think if people don't have the plan, once they start drinking, the judgment goes out the window, and that's when, it leads to the drinking and driving.
So based on that, and it's so key to have a plan, to have a designated driver lined up, but I got to ask you, is will these drinking accidents ever be under control?
I think that would be the only way is if people genuinely had a plan and stuck to the plan, and if plan A doesn't work, plan B, taxi, different, just kind of go down the list. But the vehicles are just such dangerous equipment if we don't operate them appropriately, and so that's why we have to make that conscious decision to just not drink and drive. I'm not saying don't drink. That's a personal decision, and everybody deserves the right to enjoy their off time the way they would like. And so I in my mind, I separate the two activities, drinking or driving. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
drinking and driving doesn't come together in my
Right.
mind.
Like, I mean, and I'm not endorsing this, but there are times when I'm in my home and I have a glass of wine with dinner. I mean, I'm not getting out behind the wheel after that. I'm done for the evening.
Right. And there have been studies that say, having a glass of red wine or so actually has health benefits and whatnot. So, I agree with you. And so, yeah, I think if we looked at it more as an or scenario rather than, the and, I think, we would all be in a better position.
So I have another question is, so what is the fallout from being a victim of a drunk driving accident? I mean,
Yeah.
the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Well, there are a lot of injuries and or fatalities that occur. You would say I'm a miracle, walking miracle, in that he hit me going at 100 miles per hour, and I survived. Now, I did sustain a traumatic brain injury that we talked about, and then I spent 4 years and 2 months in litigation. And
Wow.
I sued the drunk driver, and he was a 21-year-old young man driving his girlfriend's mother's car. So he didn't have insurance, but the insurance is on the vehicle. It took 2 years to reach a settlement where they paid full policy on that car. And then it took me another 2 years and 2 months in suit against my own insurance company before everything was completely done. And I had to do it that way because I did file a claim with my own insurance company, but they said no. If you want to recoup, I filed a claim for my policy, and so they said no. We have to go to court, or you have to sue us. In the end, I was able to reach a successful settlement, but that took that duration. And but I'm one of the lucky ones in that I did survive. Now, I did lose my career because of my injuries, and I was active duty military at the time, lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force, and had served for 18 years at the time of the collision. And the traumatic brain injury, I was a chief financial officer of a $169 million operation. And I could no longer perform at that level. And so to hear me speak, I'm blessed to be left with the ability to communicate where you don't detect it. And so my deficits are at a much higher level that you just don't detect on day-to-day, interaction with me. And so I'm very, fortunate because a lot of brain injured people can't communicate the same way that I can. And that's because brain injuries are very unique depending on the lobe or lobes that are impacted, how it's classified as far as the length of time that a person's unconscious, their level of overall health and fitness at the time of the injury, their desire to get better. There's so many factors that play into, the ultimate outcome. And so that's a larger reason why I feel the need to educate the public, both on traumatic brain injuries and on the system, with drunk driving and therefore the litigation process, and then explaining, through our book Plaintiff 101, helping really everybody, because sadly there's over 2 million people every year that are injured through motor vehicle collisions. Yeah, 2 million. That's
Correct.
Staggering.
That is staggering. Yeah. I have to ask you, I mean, without a doubt, Plaintiff 101, and I'm not even going to ask, because usually at times I would ask the PR firm that I'm working with, hey, send me the review. This story is so powerful, you have my purchase, because I want to donate something to your organization and also pick up the 101. I've got to say, how can you protect yourself from the many pitfalls that plaintiffs face?
Well, we go in depth in Plaintiff 101, and explain everything in layman's terms, and the process and what's going to be asked of us as a plaintiff. Depositions and filling out interrogatories, and we give a deposition checklist and an interrogatory checklist, and we use my story as the case study throughout, and I'm very open in the book sharing what I did right and also what I did wrong along the way, and how it almost at times cost me the whole case. And so I share it all in the hopes of educating really the nation and perhaps beyond, but certainly our entire United States, both the public and the attorneys on both sides, because I want to help plaintiffs' attorneys and their clients. And then I want to help the defense side as far as helping both sides communicate better, leading to more productive settlements, and getting everybody, healthy quicker, so to say, and on the road to recovery.
Karen, you have such a powerful story. I want to give you a round of applause. I need you. Oh, you're welcome. Last question is, tell us about, the best way to get in contact with you or your organization, do your social media, plug your various websites, because there's going to be people that hear this podcast through our various distributed formats that might have a question or two, and if they need to reach out to you, they should be able to get to you.
Absolutely. Well, it really, fulfillyourdestiny.org is the website, and from there they can click and like the Fulfill Your Destiny Facebook page, and connect with Twitter through that. And there's also a contact page there that will send an email to me. And so, they can certainly Google Karen Mertes, and all this stuff comes up as well. And Plaintiff 101 is on Amazon, and so there's probably ways that way too. I certainly invite follow-on questions, and would be happy to engage with people.
And that is Karen Mertes, plaintiff101.wordpress.com. Fulfill Your Destiny. Karen, thank you so much. Want to ask you one question. Any New Year's resolution, anything that you're looking forward to in 2016?
I would like to take Plaintiff 101 and the education and the story as broad and as far as I possibly can to help as many people in 2016 as possible.
Perfect. It's you know what? God bless you. I thank you, and just whenever you have, if there's ever a need, you want to ever use our platform to get on and talk, or if I'm guessing you're going to be revising your book, in the coming years as things start to change, as new laws start to change. I definitely want you to come back, visit us, and we definitely want to keep in touch, okay?
Absolutely. And, as readers read the book, if they want to send suggestions or if there's something we didn't address they would like to see, we're seriously considering writing a 201, and then we would incorporate any and all of those questions and comments and things like that may come up, as we go forward. So I really do encourage feedback.
Karen, thanks so much.
Thank you, Ted.
Bye-bye.
And Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. And that is Karen Mertes. Very powerful story. So happy for her to join us tonight to talk about her book, Plaintiff 101, to talk about Fulfill Your Destiny, her 501c3 or organization. And it's about helping people whose careers have been altered by injury or by other unforeseen circumstances. Really so appreciative to have her on here and share her story. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk with Danny Thompson in a recorded interview that took place about an hour and a half ago. He's currently in Charlotte, attending the Clippers and Charlotte Hornets game, and we're going to talk about Mark Jackson and his comment about Steph Curry. Is Steph Curry destroying the NBA? So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook of your choice and a free 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/late-night-parents and choose from over 180,000 audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com